All right, guys, we'll take questions for Rob Thomson. Same thing with the microphones. Howard wants to lead off. Go ahead.
Perfect. Perfect.
I got to go on the air soon. Come on now. Yeah, I do work. All right, and I'm delicate about it too. Rob, the way Arizona played the game, as a baseball guy, you've seen that before. Speed at the top of the lineup. Not a lot of home runs, base hits. They only had one extra base hit in the clinching game. How much thought have you put into putting speed at the top of your lineup to try to, I know you have power, but to have more speed at the top of the lineup to try to generate runs that way? How much thought have you put into that?
I've put a lot of thought into it over the course of the year, over the years that I've been coaching or managing. They're built that way. That's how they're built, to score runs. They've got some on-base guys at the top that can run, so they steal a lot of bases. They got a little bit of thump in the middle of their lineup. We're built a little bit differently in that we've got more of a power-laden lineup, but we do have some speed. But we've got a lot of power hitters that we can sprinkle throughout the lineup. So
I know you've addressed Kyle Schwarber at the top of the lineup all season long. However, he's got the lowest, one of the fewest amount of RBIs for a guy that hits that many home runs. Why is it not better to move him down a little bit and then put speed up there to get guys running around and create kind of havoc with your offense?
Well, and that could happen. We'll have a lot of conversations before the season starts next year. So that's not out of the question. It's just when we ended up putting him back in the leadoff spot, we started to score runs and we started to win games. So we kept it there. But that doesn't mean that when we start the season next year that we necessarily have that lineup the same way.
So you're more open to it?
Oh, sure.
Okay, go to Todd next.
Rob, have you talked to Taiwan yet?
I haven't. I heard about it.
I mean, the one of the tweets that he liked, it was super. I mean, you read it? You read the tweet?
Yeah, sure.
Super critical of you. Wondering what your thought is of that, and how badly is that relationship fractured, if you think it is?
Oh, not at all. Not one bit. People get emotional. He's a competitive guy. I love Taiwan. I really do. This guy gave us 15 wins. Every time he goes out to the mound, he competes until we take him out, and then he never wants to come out. I don't want a guy like that. So that type of thing doesn't bother me. I'll call him at some point, but I love him. I love his demeanor. I love his toughness. I'm sure everything will be fine.
And your thoughts on the coaching changes? Sounds like.
Yeah, we just want to tweak some of the responsibilities, get a new voices. But those two guys, Lenny's been here a long time, and he did a tremendous job. Cammy's been here 2 years, did a tremendous job. I'm sure they're going to find jobs someplace else.
Okay, Matt on the left.
Would you like another year or two added on to your deal? You have 1 year left in your contract. Is that something you want to pursue? Do you want a bigger commitment from the club, not to be a lame duck manager?
Again, that doesn't really bother me. I've my whole career, I've never worried about my contract. I've never worried about the length of my contract. I've never worried about getting fired. It just doesn't enter my, because I can't control it. I just can't. So I leave it alone. I put my head down and do my work, and whatever happens, happens.
And now looking back on it, seeing some of the adjustments that the Diamondbacks made after Game 2, pitching-wise, do you regret, or do you feel like you guys didn't make the appropriate adjustments on your own end?
Yeah, I think we got into the chase mode a little bit, and clubs get into that. At times they go through streaks where they're chasing more than they should, and I think the Diamondbacks did a good job doing that to us. I mean, game 3, we didn't hit, and we chased a little bit. Game 4, we just didn't really play a very good game and got beat at the end. Game 5 we played well, and then all of a sudden 6 and 7 we started chasing again. We couldn't score any runs. So those are things that we need to improve on, especially our chase rate, and especially making those whatever time frame you're going into a slump or you're chasing, make those, because everybody does, just kind of close the gap there a little bit.
Okay, Tim in the middle.
Rob, what was your evaluation of Bryce Harper at first base, and do you think it's more or less stress on him defensively playing first as opposed to the outfield?
I thought he was great. I was pleasantly surprised by how he played, and I don't know whether it takes its toll more playing first base or in the outfield, because at first base you're moving all the time, and you're turning, you're diving, you're doing a lot of things, and you're running to first base as hard as you can, 10, 11 times a game. So, it looks like it's a lot easier to play first base, but sometimes it's not.
Obviously, there's some decisions that have to be made, but if he went back to the outfield, is there part of you that just thinks leave Castellanos in right field, given that he seemed to get comfortable there this year, and have Harper in left?
Yeah, so those are all conversations we're going to have with people. First of all, we got to have the conversation with Bryce, what he prefers. Obviously, we will make the final decision on where he's going to play next year, because a lot of different things will come into play depending on where he plays. So we'll have that conversation, and then if he happens to go back to the outfield, then we'll have to have another conversation where everybody goes.
Okay, Matt in the back.
Hi, Rob. You've said before that offense kind of comes and goes sometimes, and some of the aggressiveness is in some of these hitters' DNAs. I wonder what you see as kind of the manager's role in maybe trying to even some of that out when you're in a playoff series. What kind of a role do you think you play in that, and has the experience of the last 2 postseasons adjusted how you approach that in any way?
Yeah, my role is really conversations. What I'm seeing, it might be with a hitter, it might be with Kevin Long, but just making sure that we're aware of what we're doing. We're aware that we're trying to improve and trying to make some adjustments along the way. How we're going about that, those are the things that I can do. I'm not going to go down to the cage and start doing drill work with hitters, because that's a hitting coach's job. But it's just, and those guys are aware, and they work hard, very, very hard at it. Sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Okay, Howard, second row.
Rob, a couple things. First, on the bullpen, and we talked a little bit about this during the series. You guys ended up having 9 different relievers record saves this year. You were 10 last year, and most of the under your watch. Is that a preference? And if not, if you'd prefer to have a primary guy to be able to get those final outs, do you see Kerkering and Hoffman as potential options there? Should Kimbrel sign somewhere else?
Yeah, I don't think I really have a preference. I kind of try to deal with what is on our plate, and but I do think that Kerkering and Hoffman both have big time stuff, and I think that they have the ability and the mindset to be able to pitch in the 8th, 9th inning.
And then just to jump off of the Bryce question, like you said, first base is a challenging position. As well as he played there, you saw some times, even in the postseason, some collisions at first base, some things where, you have a full offseason to work on it. Presumably it would change things. I just wonder what you think his defensive upside is at that position.
Oh, yeah, I think there's still more to grow there. I think I'm surprised at where he played at the level that he played at this year, but I think he can even get better.
Thank you.
Okay, go to Dave right in the front.
Rob, I recognize it's only 2 days removed from the series, but what do you think you learned from this series against the Diamondbacks?
I think that, there are a lot of, just reflecting on it, there are a lot of decisions being made bullpen-wise. So there are some things there that I would want to change, and I'm not going to be specific. The lineup situation, there's some things there that maybe I need to be a little bit more adaptable, But every decision I make, there's always a reason. Now, was the reason correct? Those are the things that I reflect on.
And I know you don't think about your contract situation, but and I know that you're very excited about coming into next season, but you were looking to retire last season. So, like, how do you envision you going forward, not from a contract standpoint, but just could you see yourself having wanting to manage this team beyond next year and for many years?
Oh,
going
absolutely. I believe me, I love this city and this organization, this team. I've never had as much fun in my life as I have the last couple of years, and so, yeah, I can envision that.
Okay, Alex in the back left.
Hey, Rob. This is a tough division, as you know. You guys were able to move past the Braves for the past 2 seasons in the playoffs, and I'm wondering, does this feel like a missed opportunity to you?
Anytime you don't win, it's a missed opportunity to me, especially when you get in the playoffs, because anything can happen. But to where we got to, and I said this the other night, the last 2 years, it's tough to get to where we got to. And so, although it's disappointing, I'm still proud of our players for getting us to this point. But we still have some work to do, and we need to finish it off.
And what was your message to the players heading into the offseason?
Basically, it was just they have nothing to be ashamed of because they played hard. And you can point out all the mistakes that people made, but they played hard. They competed. And they prepared for us every day. And they worked hard every day for us. They did everything we've ever asked. So I'm proud of them for that. And I told them I loved them all, and I'll be in touch soon.
Okay, Destiny over here on the right.
Rob, you mentioned earlier that you wanted to tweak some responsibilities on the coaching staff. Do you know what that entails, and do you plan on hiring replacements for those positions?
Yes. And yes.
So we'll find out about that later.
Sure.
And Dave kind of asked this question, but like personally, how are you dealing with the heartbreak of the loss?
It's difficult, you know. It's difficult. There's a lot of reflection. There's, as I said the other night, 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, I wouldn't expect us to be where we're at right now. So it's very disappointing to me, and I'm accountable for everything that goes on around here. So, you know, at some point, we're going to have to turn the page and get going on to next year, and we've done a little bit of that so far, but it's disappointing.
Okay, Matt on the left.
Dave asked you about reflecting on the series and maybe what you learned, and you said something about the lineup. What specifically was it? Maybe decisions in game, pinch hitting, or was it decisions about
both the, you know, moving people around, pinch hitting, all those things. I think about, or I reflect on almost everything on a nightly basis, and then after the series was over, I'd go back and work through each game and try to figure out, okay, where could we have done some things differently. And some things, even things that went well, you're looking at and thinking, okay, was that really the right move? Because that could have backfired there.
And as you guys, and this is, Dave was asked this too, but as you guys begin to figure out where all the pieces fit this offseason, do you see Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas as everyday players in this league next year?
I think there's a chance. Yeah, I think, you know, Brandon's got better chance than Johan. But you know, depending on what Rojas does during the off season and how he comes into spring training, how he plays during spring training, you know, I can see both of them. Sure.
Okay, Mike on the right.
Rob.
Howard, have a great night. Have a great day.
I'm sorry, excuse
No, you're good. It's 2 years in a row.
Hey, Rob. Looking back on it now, how would you assess Trey Turner's year, and are you confident that the Trey Turner that you're going to have next year is not the guy that you saw for the majority of this year?
I am confident in that. You know, he had a down year for him defensively. You know, the started the year off very slowly. offensively. I think he's more comfortable now. He's not going to try and do too much like he did at the start of the year this year, and I think that affected him. So I think he's going to have certainly a much better year defensively, and I think the numbers, because he will be comfortable at the start of the year, the offensive numbers will be even better as well.
And obviously, a decision has to be made on Kimbrel and his status. But Dave said he's comfortable with a lot of the guys in the back end of that bullpen. I mean, how do you feel about the guys that are back there now? Or do you think there needs to be some additions there?
Oh, I agree. I'm comfortable with who we've got. We've got some high-powered arms down there that can handle pressure and can handle moments. So, and I'm sure that there will be guys over the off season that come up. And but with the people that we have left, I'm very comfortable with that.
Do you think Sir Anthony is a guy who can get? I mean, he seemed to regress a little bit this year. Can he be more consistent next year?
Oh, no doubt. He's still got great stuff. He really does. And you know, the fastball, high 90s, 100, the slider, I think, you know, we'll tune that up a little bit in spring training so he has some confidence with it. And I think he's going to be a lot better next year and more consistent next year.
Okay, Dave in the front.
After the game the other night, Kyle said, you know, everybody's sick, and Nick referred to it as an underachieving season, and Bryce said he felt bad. He felt he let the city down and the team down for not coming through in the seventh. How can you guys use the disappointment of this series going forward?
Well, it's a motivator, you know, and the one thing we are now that we weren't last year, now we are the hunted. Last year we were the hunter. So now we have to, you know, take that mindset and that nobody's going to lay down for us. People are going to come after us constantly. So you have to be aware of that and be on guard for that. And you got to play well, get ahead, and then put people away because they're not going to quit.
Okay, Howard in second row.
Rob, just in terms of the pitchers for next year, you know, who are in the system, and Dave talked a little bit about this, I'm wondering who you're most intrigued to see next spring, you know, whether it's Mick and what he was able to do late in the year, whether it's Griff, who obviously has, you know, a lot of different pitches but has struggled to command them, and, you know, the potential options in 24, but wondering what you're looking for out of them next spring for you to get a sense of when in 24 they might be helped.
Yeah, I think just being comfortable being around the clubhouse and even though it's a spring training game, it's a big league game for them. Being comfortable pitching in that atmosphere, being able to throw strikes and execute pitches, that's basically what I'm looking for.
And just related to what, you know, obviously been the three we've talked about with Painter, you know, who's gone until likely 25. You see the reports every day, but you don't get to see them in person. Who's somebody who, beyond that big three, that you're most intrigued to get a look at come next spring?
Well, I think it was Kirkering, but then we got to see him. So I'd have to think about that to come up with a name. But
Okay, Matt in the back.
Rob, I know the decisions on Aaron Nola and Rhys Hoskins are above your pay grade, but I wonder if you can reflect on how important those two guys have been to the clubhouse dynamic that you talk about a lot, and from your perspective of being around them.
yeah, both Phillies through and through. You know, came up through the system. Nola, I'm not sure when the last time he missed a start. He's just been a workhorse for this organization for a long time. Rhys comes up, has these big power numbers. He's a guy that can control the strike zone, gets on base. He's going to hit 30 home runs. But both of those guys are just A-plus human beings and a sounding board and a calming voice in that clubhouse. And what they've done in the city to raise money for people through their charities. They are really, really true professionals.
Todd on the left.
Do you think Rhys would have made the World Series roster?
Not sure. He was doing, because we never really talked about it. We never got to that point. But I can tell you this: he was doing really well down there, really, really well, and his running was coming along. I'm not sure what we would have to sit down and look at Texas's roster and see where that fit would be for a pinch hitter. So we never really got there.
Okay, anything else for Thompson? Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
everybody.